You're listening to The Three Pillars of Success, a podcast that inspires people of all walks of life to gain perspective on what it means to succeed. My name is Geraldine Convento, and I'm best known for entrepreneurship, my skills in web presence, and SEO. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Hey y'all, how you doing? It's me, Geraldine, the Entrepreneur Guide, Web, and SEO expert. This is the Three Pillars of Success podcast, and I'm super excited to have my special guest today, Ericalandia. Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Nice.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay. So we're going to go ahead and go directly into the questions.
Yes.
Who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do for a living?
Okay. My DJ moniker is Ericalandia. My name is Erica Olsen, and I'm originally from the Bay Area. I live in Los Angeles currently via Brooklyn. I am a DJ, a music journalist, and a music curator by profession, which mostly entails me being out performing and creating soundscapes.
What do you do for fun?
I walk and talk with friends and get boba and long distance bicycle. I like to do things that involve nature and adventure and creature features and bodies of water. So hiking and skiing and surfing and camping, all those kinds of things. And also equally chilling and snuggling.
So what does success mean to you?
There are a couple different facets to answer that question. The first one would be freedom, the freedom to spend my time the way that I choose and go after what I want. And the second one is actually a state of flow. So organic movement in life from different kinds of playing. I realized over the last couple of years that I don't have a lot of boundaries between playing music and playing with friends, and I think that's part of how I define success. I had to, when you asked me to come on the show, sit down with myself and think about what I think success is, and also think about, I'm like, oh, Geraldine thinks I'm successful. That's cool. Am I? Is it true? What does that mean to me? How does it feel? How do we define that? I just think that success for me is really being able to decide how I spend my time and listen to my internal compass and be able to decide what I want to go after and go for it. That's a big part of what I think success is. I also have been trying to remind myself and prod myself to define my own success and my own happiness by internal gauges versus using external validation. And there's, those things that people are supposed to have to be happy. And when I play that comparison game, I've been DJing since I was a teenager and full-time for at least a decade. But imposter syndrome is real, and comparing yourself to other people is really real. And I have to keep reminding myself, am I happy? And often the answer is yes. I will say that part of success where the external validation part does come in is when peers invite me to come play with them. That's one of the exceptions where I'm that does feel like success to me. So success can be so many things.
This podcast is really dedicated to show people that success doesn't always have to be determined by external factors.
Totally.
Because when we grow up and we watch television, we see celebrities, and we just live in a world of capitalism and money and fancy things, and we start to yearn for everything material. It's very easy for us to say, wow, I don't have that. It's like a state of lack.
Yes.
And that means that I'm not successful.
Yeah.
However, I really am committed to people knowing for themselves what makes them happy.
Yeah.
As I think there's a direct correlation between that and success.
Right.
And have them see the little things that they've accomplished over time and acknowledge themselves for that.
Right.
Because if we live all of our lives waiting to achieve this really big dream, Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't happen because as we grow up as children or go through our daily lives, whatever the situations we're in, sometimes we develop these limiting beliefs that have us think really small.
For sure.
And not think big enough and think, oh no, I can never do that.
And blocking your own path too.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So let's not, for anyone who's listening to this podcast, let's not get distracted by everybody else's definition of success. Right. Develop our own definition of success.
Right.
And start to work toward that.
You know what else I forgot to mention? I know that when I feel like everything's popping and locking for me, that I really like connecting people, and I like being a resource, and I like having resources, and I like supporting my peers and referring work off to people when I'm too busy. And also, I know when I'm like at my peak, like points of quote unquote success, when I can employ other creatives to do their artwork, be it graphic designers or merch designers or hair, makeup, nails, like whatever it is. I love getting to the point where I have enough income to comfortably give that income to other people. So that's a huge piece of feeling successful to me.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. Sometimes when we're so focused on our own personal success and what we have and haven't achieved, we totally forget that success is shared amongst communities.
Yes. I feel like it really invites, when I think about what I would do with money when I get it, if I have that concept in my mind that I'm going to give it to other people and I get excited about that, it comes faster.
Raise that vibe.
Yeah, raise the vibes.
All right, so let's go on to the next question, which is, if you were to choose 3 pillars that are attributed to success for yourself, what would they be?
I love that you asked this, like that the podcast is based around this like hella deep existential situation. When I sat down to think about what 3 things popped up for me for my subjective experience of life, the 3 words came up really fast, like almost like ice cubes or bubbles in the glass of water, like boom, boom, boom. And it was, for me, it's integrity and joy. And the third one, which is probably the most interesting one, is risk. I feel like those 3 things are like integral to how I navigate. And so the first one, integrity, for example, when I moved to New York in 2010 and I went full-time DJing, I decided, because I'd had a few experiences previous to that I wasn't going to work with anybody who was an asshole. It just wasn't worth it to work with people who didn't give a modicum of respect and consideration. I remember thinking about wanting to work with crews or do a certain party, or there was a certain goal that I had in mind, and I didn't achieve that thing. And then I found out months or years later that when I was interacting with them, I got the feeling like, they're not the nicest. And then I found out like months or years later that there wasn't a lot of integrity involved in the parties that were being thrown or the crew. So I totally dodged a bullet. So using my gut instinct and wanting to navigate with integrity has always ended up serving me well, especially hindsight 2020. Second pillar, joy. I have found that when I move towards things and people that make me joyful in my life just seems to work better. I select music that makes me feel happy and excited. And I've been told that when people watch me, they say that I'm interesting and entertaining to watch because I'm so into what I'm doing. And I just feel like when you do things that bring you joy, that resonates with people who see you doing that, and they want to support you doing that. So it's like if I'm doing a gig and somebody vibes with me and I'm doing something that makes me joyful, they can potentially hire me to do that thing that they're seeing. So it's kind of like a closed circuit that feeds on itself. So joy is like a big deal for me. And part of the secret of joy for me as DJing is variety. So I play a lot of different, we were talking about it earlier, you and I off podcast, that I follow a lot of niche genres and new producers and new music. And I have a lot of variety that I keep the pulse of bubbling things and that keeps me joyful and alive and keeps the vibe when I'm playing. And the third pillar, risk. This is going to be interesting to explain because I got interviewed in a magazine in Los Angeles and they just wanted me to talk about risk in what role risk played in my profession as a DJ. And I was like, had to sit down and I had never added it up, how much risk was involved. Every echelon of my existence in terms of my profession of DJing, it's like everything from when I started DJing, when I was a teenager, there was no profession of DJing. There was not like you could make a normal salary worth of money DJing. That didn't exist. To be a forerunner in this profession developing, that was one thing. To be a woman DJing was another risky thing. Like you have to navigate all of these strange dynamics in the patriarchy. And I had to navigate not wanting to use my sexuality to market myself. And then there's an aspect about me specifically is I have a really thorough birthmark. Interpersonally, inside me, there's nothing in me that wants me to be the focal point. I would much rather hide a lot of the time. So like there's so much personal risk. For me, I just love music so much. And I am just believe in everything that I've been doing with my mission of music that I'm willing to like put myself on the line and be uncomfortable. And they kind of say, you know, that saying that like magic happens outside of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. I am continually outside of my comfort zone. So I feel like there's a ton of magic happening because that shit is real. Wow. So there's all of that. And then there's just like your basic risk that you take as a DJ, just being out. And since I started in the radio, I was breaking a lot of music and I play a lot of new music or lots of remixes, not lots of like known jams and stuff. So it's just like every layer of my being has been risky as hell or risky AF. So those are my three pillars: integrity, joy, risk.
And it just goes to show, like, just by watching it, when you're DJing, you have this very outgoing, happy, joyful personality and really immerse yourself in the whole experience of DJing. And someone could never make the assumption that you felt uncomfortable.
I know it's a shock when I tell people. It's a total shock. I've had this conversation a couple times because last year with Twitch, I went from being a radio DJ to DJing out in front of people to DJing like explicitly having a video on me the whole time, which was another hurdle that I had to get over. I told a couple of people that it was like a thing for me to like, I stay not doing photo shoots and I stay not doing video stuff because it's one of my personal blocks that I have to get over that I'm constantly working on. And I know not everybody's on the other bank of the river. Sometimes you're straddling a foot on both sides of the river. You're not like over and past the dangerous currents. And I'm definitely not all the way through it. It's like something that I work on consistently. Doing Twitch last year was great. It made me way more comfortable like engaging with people and talking at the same time as DJing, which I wanted to get better at because people want to come and hug you and stuff when they come into the party. And I was always so bad at that. I'm like, I'm doing my job. I'm so good at talking and DJing now. And then also I'm way more comfortable in front of a camera. Oh my gosh, thank goodness. Definitely people that I've talked to have reflected that they would never guess that I'm an introvert or uncomfortable on camera. And it's totally true.
You heard it first on 3 Pillars of Success.
It's true.
So what is a roadblock that you had to overcome in your path to success?
That's exactly what we just talked about. That's a really big one for me. I think that being seen, it seems like it's a lot easier for other people.
Is that why your mixtape game was so tight back in the day?
I love making mixes. It's like a total passion project for me.
What advice would you have for anyone who is looking to achieve success in their life?
I'm a very goal-oriented person. So if I want to achieve something, it might look like I want to go from point A to point B. And for example, if I want to play like a party or a festival or something, someone might think, or you might think, or I might think that you go to that party or that place and you're hanging out in the green room and you network with somebody and that's how you get booked. That's not been my experience. My experience has been that when I do the passion project, when I do the mix of some niche thing that I like, when I do a sequenced 9-hour Spotify playlist because I think it needs to exist, or when I play a party for fun or something like that, it's all these things that are not point A to point B. It's like doing something that I really love and then getting some weird ricochet off that. I like to remind myself, and I also think it's fun advice to give other people, that not every goal is achieved from point A to point B. And it's really important to keep doing the things that you're passionate about, because weird tangential opportunities can come from doing something that sometimes you can't see the curveball that will come out of left field for something that you did that you just were really personally stoked on.
Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Okay. We don't get to talk anymore.
This was the 3 Pillars of Success podcast. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Remember to subscribe, download, and review this podcast, because that's how more people find out about it. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.